the world of Sonic, Jason Griffith. Lisa Ortiz. Schroeder.
What's up, everyone?
This is like rock stars. You can say anything and you're going to get a grade.
I don't know the last time a rock star brought a fruit cup out to a panel.
Jason decided to
I love you too, man.
Jason, I will say, when rock stars come to Utah, they bring the fruit cups.
Hey, that's a great source of fiber, everyone.
That's right, that's right. Welcome to Salt Lake City.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's get rolling. I want to know, first question for y'all, how did you get hooked up with Sonic? How did you start your life with the Hedgehog? Yeah, we'll start with there.
Sure.
It's on.
Hello. My first role in Sonic was Blaze. You're right. They're amazing. And yeah, my first that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. It was Blaze.
What did you do?
I did audition. It was quite a process. I don't know if you guys, Blaze was a new character at that point, so there was a lot of thought put into it. And you know that phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen? Well, there weren't too many, but there were a lot. So it was kind of cool, right? Because when that happens, you have a lot of people telling you different things, and you're like, how do I put all these things together? And I feel like it made her extremely layered. You know, so we spent so much time trying to figure out exactly who she was and to convey how the writers wanted her to be, that by the time she was ready to come out, you know, I feel she was fully cooked. And it was like the beautiful combination of people that culminated together to bring this amazing character to life. And I had a fantastic time with it. Thank you.
We're fixing these.
I was going to say something.
You're going to say something about cooking.
Fix my cord as well, please.
Please make my cord not fixed.
All right, Lisa, how did you
Same thing. I called up Jason Griffith and said, let's do a show. And,
Who is this?
I auditioned as well. At the time, I mean, I knew what Sonic was, but I didn't know Sonic. You know, like I knew it existed. I knew the game was out there. I did not know. You should. But I did not know Amy. I did not know all of that. By the time I came on, they had already, I guess, run a couple of auditions. They had been running auditions and looking for a while. So when I came in, they're like, hey, do you want to read for this? I was like, sure. And they played me Japanese, and I was like, they showed me her picture, and I was like, I love her. And that's it. That was my audition. I just said, I love her. And I don't know how I got the role. It's crazy. A little bit less smoky. Yeah, a little less smoky.
like 17 takes?
Yeah. I was like, I love her. I was like, damn it, I love her. That's the one.
Do it in Japanese.
Exactly. And I didn't.
So the first time I auditioned for 4Kids was for a show called Shaman King, and I did not get a call back, and I didn't get the part, so I thought, well, that was that. And I know, right? You know, like my backup singer. Hello, evil Sonic, that just walked in. Perfect timing. So about 2 weeks later, I got a call to come in and audition for Sonic, and I thought, well, if I didn't get a part on this, right, I've heard of it too. If I didn't get a part on this show I've never heard of, I'm certainly not going to get a part on Sonic. And so I went in and auditioned. Every time I say Sonic, they get woo. It's the longest panel ever. So I got a call back, and I went in, and like Erica said, with the cooks in the kitchen, I was auditioning for Sonic and Chris Thorndike. And the producer walked in and said, the voice you're doing for Chris Thorndike, do for Sonic. And so I swapped the voices. So the voice that ended up being Sonic's was the one I was auditioning for Chris Thorndike. And I don't remember what my voice was for Sonic originally. Funny enough, I left that audition, thought, that went terribly, as you do as a beginning actor with every audition. And a couple weeks later, I was working in my agent's office, answering phones because my agent was out of town. And I answered the phone when 4 kids called. And yeah, it was a woman named Nicole. And she said, yes, Jason Griffith came in for the part of Sonic. And I wanted to be like, it's me, you know? But I couldn't because I'm supposed to be my agent. And I thought, oh great, I'm gonna hear the rejection firsthand, right? And she said, oh great, we'd like you to come in, you booked the part, we'd like you to come in next Wednesday and start recording. And I wanted to be like, it's me! But I said, oh, let him know. And then my agent checked in later that day to find out what was going on. And I'm like, John, I booked Sonic. And he said, no, you didn't.
Did you take his percentage? Did you take his fee? That's what
I always...
You booked the part, that's him. Okay, so Lisa, you mentioned the Japanese part.
Yes.
And I'm really curious to know when it's established like that, how the translation works and how you folks all adapt to what's been done in Japanese.
We don't always, like when we're seeing the show, like when we got to see Sonic X the series, then we were being shown the Japanese. So we got to see it, we got to sort of play along. It's like at that point it's like any other anime, trying to figure out what they're feeling, what it is, what's the mood, like especially with Amy, I'm like, she's so cute and then she's so violent, like how am I gonna transition that? Justify violence.
I think action is the word.
Action, that's what it's called these days. So it's you're listening to Japanese, but like on some of the games that we did, they actually did have some of the Japanese reps there, and they had strong opinions about stuff. Like they definitely had a strong hand in it. And my favorite story that I always tell is that I think we were doing the Sonic in the Dark Knight, and the producer from Japan came in. I did something. I had the video. We had the Japanese, and then he came in and he reenacted it. Like he was like a little bit more like this was the translator, and then he got down on his knees because that's I guess he needed to be small for Amy, and he waved his hands around and he did his best like high pitched like voice, and I was like, okay, respect. And I did not get down on him. I was just pretending to be short. But yeah, I think that you're always listening to them for their intention, not necessarily to mimic what their read is.
Sure.
You're trying to find out what they're going for.
Sometimes they want like a voice match. Like, I didn't have to do that for this one, but like when I don't know what your method is when you're doing a voice match, but like we've done that together in the booth so many times. We've been like, Erica, I need you to sound like this, and I'm like, okay, right? So you're like listening to it. So I'll just use like French as an example. Like I've done French dubs before, and the woman is like, you know, and you're like, oh, so you have to sort of talk along as they're doing it, but you don't speak the language. So you're like, and then you
There are
start.
children here, excuse me.
We talked about this, Erica.
And then you just start talking and speaking in English, but capturing the cadence and the vocal, just trying to do a vocal match of what you hear. But for me, that's what I do. I speak along and I pretend I speak that language. But I think everyone probably does it differently.
Yeah, Jason.
I don't do that. Well, you know, it's funny though, because I do a lot of dubbing foreign TV shows and movies into English from other languages, so that's live action.
Yeah, right.
So that comes in handy when you're dubbing something, say, from Spanish into English, because you need, even though it's English coming out of a Spanish mouth, you need it to look like it's English coming out of that mouth, you know, so the shape and everything makes a difference.
Right. You mentioned a little bit about Sega, and they can be a little bit different on some things, but what's the maybe strangest note you ever got from the Sega folks?
Stop doing that, Jason. And I was like, why are you telling me? No, okay. I was like, why are you telling me? No.
had something similar to Lisa. I forget which game it was, but it was a game because the Sega people were there from Japan. And it's funny that you have the on the knee story, because so when you're in the recording booth, you can't hear anything that's going on in the control room until someone pushes the talkback button. And so one of the Sega people from Japan was there. I did the line, whatever it was. I want to say it was Sonic in the Black Knight. And you saw the guy from Japan go like this, and it was completely silent, and then you saw. Same guy. And so then the director, the English director, pushed the talkback and said, he says, do it faster. What was the needs? I'm not in jail.
Yeah, there was a delay. Everything was translated. So like they would give a note, and then there was a delay, and then there was a translation, and then you would get the note. So there was always that like sort of extended process. But I don't remember anything in particular. I mean, I guess when they were talking about what it was, that she was a princess, but she was, you know, she had masculine traits, and she was, you know, tough. So like trying to find the balance between all of those different adjectives and all of those different titles was always a challenge. I don't remember as much animation as you guys do.
Well, that's actually a good question too, or a lead into my next question. How's the process different when you're doing, say, a dub versus, like, when you... I wrote for a show that they all worked on as well that was not originally in Japanese. So what's the process of when it's a dub versus an English animation show versus the game? How are they different? How are they similar?
Like acting-wise or auditioning-wise?
Acting-wise, performance-wise.
Well, when we're doing a prelay, we can add things to it. Like if the character might chuckle in the middle of the line, like that is just ridiculous. You know, you can do that. It sounds like I'm trying to be Amy Rose. But I was actually being Cheese from Boy Girl Dog Cat Mouse Cheese, which is a prelay show that I do. But she's a little bit similar. But you know, so if as an actor, if you have an instinct, right, to add something or do it a little different than what's written, you're allowed to do that. They don't have to use that take. But in a dub, you can't just add something in the middle of it because it won't fit anymore, you know? Right? I mean, that's one of the main differences.
I would say that's a thing. And it's also, speaking of, because we, Jason and I sang karaoke last night. We went to the thing. Thank you. But the difference that I will say is like the difference between singing along to a track, where you have to, your timing is very specific, and you need to know what you're doing because the timing of the mouth and everything like that, and being able to sing like with a live band, where you can make it longer or shorter or do anything like that. So a lot of times when we're in the booth, like you may give a read that's really great, but especially for games, it works for games, it works for anything that is anything that's dubbed. You could give the best performance in the world, but if it's not the right length, so you have to figure out how to like keep it paced into what you're doing. So that's where it becomes a little musical.
Yeah. And the prelay stuff always leads to the overlay, I guess, because when so like with Chaotic, we would record everything prelay, and then they would come back with picture, and then we had to match to whatever they had animated. So, but they animated based on whatever we gave them.
And how's that different than a game, would you say?
Well, games are really different, right?
Games are rarely linear in recording. You're never going top to bottom, beginning to end, really. There'll be like 900 death reacts and 100, you know, damage, hit, all the stuff you have to do in the middle there, and then whatever they have written or whatever's ready. And sometimes, when some of the games I've worked on, they'll actually have like a rough draft animation of what it's going to kind of look like, but rarely do they have the lid flap and everything with that. But you can see the body language, which is really important to voicing a character.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask my last question, and then we're going to turn it over to you folks. So we'll start a lineup here at the microphone, and let's go. As they're assembling, Avengers assemble.
Gotta get to the mic fast.
Yeah. I was looking at
tell you
I
that was
thought
an
that
early
was a
day.
pretty kick-ass crossover.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm gonna suggest it.
All right, so my last question for you folks before we turn it over to these lovely people, and our first person here picked the seat. You had to pick that seat to get here.
Smart dude.
All right. Before I get your attention,
Future CEO.
so my oldest is a senior in high school. He has to do this big capstone project. He is studying voice acting for his capstone project as he graduates from high school. And so my question that I'm going to take back to him, that I'm sure many people here would love to know, is if someone is an aspiring voice actor, what's one or two bits of advice that you would give someone who wants to be you when they grow up?
Don't do it.
When people ask me about being a writer, that's my go-to.
Well, it's fitting though, because if you take that advice, then you weren't meant to do it. But if you ignore that advice, and I think we've all been told, don't do it, you're not right for it, you should do something else, especially growing up. But if you persevere in spite of that, you'll find the way. You'll find your own advice,
Yeah.
I would say, I always tell everybody always says acting first before voice acting, but also because you want to be able to deliver the performance. But I would also say, if you're looking to do voice specifically, learn how to use your instrument. Singing lessons are great, anything that's right, because what's going to happen is, voiceover is one of those things that you can do for a very, very long time and still do those voices. Your voice has changed, but you can manipulate it. But if you damage the one thing that you have, then you're not going to be able to do it for a very long time. I've known a lot of people who've done a lot of voice work, excellent actors, wonderful performers, and they don't know how to sustain their instrument, or they don't know how to support sound, and they wind up losing their voice. And so I think everybody, and I know everybody here has had an experience that's like that, and then you just have to learn how to do that. So I would say, even if you're not planning to like sing and do a thing, it's a great thing to have to learn how to use your instrument and be able to do so.
I agree with both of them on both points. Vocal health is so important. It's so important. I'm gonna say, I'll say another thing. I say get on stage, because it's a really physical sport, actually, being a voice actor. When we become these different characters, it's, I'm gonna be a baby, I love you, too, I'm a baby. And if I'm gonna suddenly be an old lady,
Martha, is that you?
yes, oh, it's my husband from the other room. How are you, darling? Did you have cornflakes this morning?
I can't hear you, you know that, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Did you have cornflakes this morning? Can you stop screaming across the hallway? All I do is hear you all day long. He likes Stella more than he likes me. But anyway, yeah. Well, as you can see, when we do these characters, our faces and our bodies transform, and a lot of that you learn on the stage, and it's important to be able to take direction from different directors. And a lot of people think it's something that just happens overnight, and I guess for some people it does, but for a lot of us it was a lifelong pursuit. So take it very seriously, as if you were if you wanted to be a pharmacist, you would study pharmacy. If you want to be an actor, you study acting. And you can do it so many different ways, but you have to put in hours, many, many, many hours.
Yeah.
So that's my advice.
I would add to that, I would say take it seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Because as soon as you start taking yourself too seriously, you take the fun out of it, and it really has to be fun. That's the magic ingredient. If you're not having fun, don't do it. Nobody's going to want to hear you doing it, because it translates. If you're having a good time, other people feel it. If you're not, if you're self-critical and that's all that's coming through, people feel that as well.
Great. Okay, we have a huge line, so I've got to...
Starting with young Pete Davidson here.
Couple of ground rules.
It's compliment.
Couple of ground rules. We know how much you love these people. You don't need to preface your question with that, just in the interest of time. And also a limit of one question per person, please, just so we can get through as many people as we can in about the 25 minutes that we have. Okay? All right, lead us off.
Have you guys played all the Sonic games and watched the shows and movies?
I've never played one Sonic game that I was in.
Jason, I also have never played. I've never played any video game I've ever been in, and I've done over 70 games, which is crazy.
Name them all.
I know. I have a fear of dying. I only want to do it once.
Alright.
What was your favorite time during the actors?
There was a game, Shadow the Hedgehog, that I did. That was my favorite, because I actually got to say so much, and this is not a recommendation, but I got to swear too, which was really
I like Sonic and I like Sonic the Black Knight.
I'm gonna give the unpopular opinion. I loved Sonic 06. I loved Silver and Blaze together. I'm hashtag Silvers.
This is why I said you don't need to tell them that you love them. It's pretty. Go ahead.
What was it like voicing the werewolf?
Imagine swallowing razor blades. And then having to scream on top of that. I was so sick, brother, when I was recording that, man, and I had to keep screaming. I had a throat infection. And I don't know if you know this, but when you have a throat infection and you keep screaming, it gets worse. So, I had a fever, I was nauseous, I wanted to just sleep. But I couldn't, because again, this was back in the years where it wasn't over Zoom and people flew in from Japan to be there. So I had to record, I had to show up. And each day it got worse and worse. So there's a death scream that you hear from the werewolf. That is truly like probably the last take I did, because I'm like, I don't want to do this again. So that was real pain. Show me the money.
That really came up a follow-up question though. How is it different now? Are you in the booth as regularly as you were before? Is it mostly Zoom? How's that?
It's probably different for each of us because we're in different cities. Well, they're in Los Angeles and I'm in New York. I spend a lot of time in my closet, guys. Yeah, I spend a lot of time coming out of the closet, coming back into the closet, coming back out again. It happens several times a day, actually.
Well, you're looking for an outfit, isn't that?
I just can't get dressed. I have a problem.
I think it depends on the project.
Sure.
You know, like some games will want you to be in the studio specifically, some will want you to not, some you may be in the closet, you know.
Yeah. I'm working on 2 games right now, and one, the director's in person, but the gaming company is about 10 miles away, but they're over Zoom. And then the other one, everyone, including the director, is thousands of miles away, over Zoom.
Gotcha.
What is your recommended vocal exercise?
Well, first water.
Lifting one.
I'm sure we all have favorites, right?
Yeah, I'll say this, like, because you're gonna go into, I know you're gonna go into your vocal stuff, you're going, stretch out, no, I mean, like, you have it covered, stretch your body, because you don't realize how much of your voice is in your physical body, so like, usually when I'm going in and if I have a big session, you'll see me stretching in the booth, and like, if you're tight or anything like that, or you're tight in your throat, it can really affect your sound and damage you, yeah.
I'll just give a couple of things that I tell people like never to do, and that's like don't take Tylenol or Advil before you act, because you will hurt yourself. Because it thins the blood, it thins everything, so you're more likely to damage your voice. If you're having a hard time, like vocally, take it after you're finished. It's really important. I like when I'm singing or if I need to warm up and I feel like things aren't coming to me easily, I might have chamomile tea with honey in it because it relaxes. Chamomile relaxes you. For warm-ups, like for a difficult role, right, that hurts while you're doing it. So, for example, like when I was voicing Luffy, it was like really difficult to get through the session and come out with the voice that I had. So, maybe 6 or 7 episodes in, I realized after every 5 or 6 cues, I would have to do like a vocalese, and I didn't usually do it right into the mic because I love my engineers and I didn't want to upset them.
Tell me what vocalese is.
Yes, I would go like this. Like that. But I would do it like this. I would do it off the mic so I would not piss my engineers off. But every objection. Yeah.
And it's Arnold.
About every 5 or 6 cues, I would do that so that I would walk out of the booth with the voice that I came in with. Because if I didn't, I would be like, ouch, you know. But that was something that I discovered for me. A lot of people use straw formation. There's a bunch of other things.
Alright, so my question is that with the characters that you voice and the characters that you do know, what would you think their relationship is with their sibling Hatsune Miku? You know, Seka and Miku, they're in the same company, so they're realistically siblings, cousins, nieces, they're like...
I'll let Lisa and Erica take this one.
I'll let Erica take this one.
No idea what's going on.
That's what we think their relationship would be like. They'd be like, I have no idea what's going on.
Who are you?
Why are we the same?
Hey brother, you were at karaoke last night.
How you doing?
Good man.
First of all, you guys sang incredibly last night.
Thank you. You were an awesome audience member, man.
Now, my question is to Jason Griffith. Now, is there a difference between voicing Shadow and Sonic at the same time?
Yeah. Different placement of the voice. With Sonic, everything comes out like sort of through here, like nasally. But with Shadow, everything comes through my throat. So it's a different, like I can do Shadow, I can do Sonic longer than I can do Shadow without losing my voice.
Thank you.
Wow, dude, thank you. Mr. President, you're next.
Okay, hypothetically speaking, so speaking of karaoke, say all the Sonic characters are having a Disney karaoke night. What Disney song do each of your characters sing?
Does it have to be Disney?
Disney song? Oh my gosh. Oh no. Wait, this is an amazing question.
Let's take some suggestions from the studio audience.
Any part of your
What do you
world,
think?
maybe Blaze, because
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go! Yes, that's a good one.
For all three of them.
Distance, that's your song.
Oh my God,
Amy, I would say I'm in love.
There, okay. I'll say I'm in love. I think that's good.
It's a small chaos emerald after all.
If you have the opportunity to voice your characters again, will you voice them again?
Yeah. For sure.
Yes.
So there's a YouTuber I like to watch every now and then. He does voice impersonations, and one video he actually collaborated with the famous Jason and Lisa. His name is Jet. So how often do you interact with like fans and like collaborate with those kind of projects?
It really just depends. A lot of them, I don't know, sometimes people come up, yeah, do you, obviously, all of them is a property that's there already, but sometimes we're inspired or it hits us on the right way, you know? I know, like, I did a collab for, during the pandemic that was going on, they had asked me to come back and do the Small Voices and Heroes, and I did that. I didn't continue doing it after that, but I thought it was like a fun thing to do in the middle of that, and I thought it was a great, like, sort of like, for me it was fun, I figured it would be fun for you guys, so I thought that was really cool. It really just depends, you know, it depends on what the project is, and if we have, and also if you have time, if we're able to do it.
Are there any legal restrictions that, like, say, the production companies or anything would put on you for doing something like that?
I'll let you speak.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
The only collaboration I've ever done, I think, got maybe not the approval, but sort of an unofficial thumbs up from Sega. So I felt it was okay to do it, and there were other people from the official cast involved.
That was the same thing, and like I would be very careful about I would be very careful about material, whatever's on there. She wanted to be true to. Okay.
Thank you.
First off, I would like to thank you all for being here and participating in this panel. And secondly, this question goes to Jason Griffith. And this was a comment that somebody made while I was lining up to meet you in my Sonic cosplay. And I was wondering, is it true that you gave Keanu Reeves your blessing to play Shadow the Hedgehog in Sonic the Hedgehog 3?
When I showed up at his house and the police were called, as I was being whisked over, I'm like, you have my blessing!
That's what they call that unofficial thumbs up, right?
When TMZ asked me, I spoke truthfully about it, that with all of the actors that were being sort of talked about for Shadow, he was the only one that I really hoped would get the role. So I was very happy. If it couldn't have been any of us, I'm so glad it was Keanu, because I think he is Shadow,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm kind of freaking out.
Great outfit, dude.
Thank you so much, thank you. So, Sonic as a character and as a franchise, means a lot to so many people, to all of you guys, and to me specifically, Sonic provides freedom, maybe everybody's love, Blaze everybody's coming out and being social, even when it's hard and difficult and all that. So I just would like to know, during your time voice acting these characters, what did it personally mean to you?
It's a good thing. It's a hard thing to say. I think as far as love, I loved being a part of it. It was always joyful. It was always super, super fun. A lot of it is also so many years later. I'm so thankful for all of you guys and for how much it means, because you never know when you walk into a room how it's going to be taken by people, and so seeing you guys even after all this time is super amazing. And also I got to know these guys, which was super, super great. They used to book me after Jason. I think he thought I was stalking him. Yeah, he still does. He still does. Yeah, but I bailed him out at Keanu, so really, I had to bid him.
You do get to make incredible friendships playing roles. That is one thing that is amazing. Going back to 06 and the scene where Blaze sacrifices herself for Silver is such a beautiful moment, and it meant so much to me. And because I do like I feel so strongly in my friendships, and I feel like sometimes I would just do anything for special people in my life, and so I really related to that scene, and it just, a fan sent it to me 3 years ago, and I've never seen it put together, and I cried. I cried so hard, I was like, wow, no wonder people love this, so I felt it. Yeah, it was beautiful.
You ever have that dream where you won the lottery, and then you wake up and you're like, that was a dream. Yeah, that's what it felt like without waking up. It felt every day oh man, I'm gonna wake up at some point because this is too good to be real, And I will say this, that feeling makes all of the struggle and everything you have to go through and everything that leads up to it, all the pain and all the rejection and the self-doubt, everything worth it. Because you go through all of that to get to that feeling of elation, or, and to be chosen to play a role like Sonic, that was the biggest thing I'd done to that point. It wasn't like I came off a television show and, I'd gotten small jobs and I did commercials or whatever, but to play a role like Sonic, it feels like I don't know how to put it into actual words, but it's the most special feeling in the world. To be singled out like that and to be chosen you know? And I knew that like everything, it took me 5 years of auditioning before I got Sonic, so it was like 5 hard years of like, should I be doing this? I don't know what I'm doing. Like, am I doing right? I know I love to do it, you know? I know I don't want to give up, but like, what's going on? And then to finally get something like that, it makes everything worth it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I think a lot of people here have like grown up on your games, that era of games. How do you personally feel that you've shaped a lot of people's Sonic generation era, that you introduced so many people to the Sonic games? So this is a question for all of you. Like, how do you personally feel that your games, even though they might not be overrated or overhyped as many others, they are still probably one of the better games out there?
I think story was at the center of all the games that we were in. I mean, the story was always compelling and moving, and I know that sounds like a strange thing to say. It sounds like it's an obvious thing. You're a writer, right? I mean, and it's like, you think that the story will be strong, but it isn't always that way. And so I feel like at the basis of most of the games, there was an element of fantastical story that we were able to kind of latch on to and bring to life.
And I will also say on that, and kind of going with what Jason said before, there are so many people who come, you don't know, like, this was before, I know it's hard to believe that there was a before this, but the social media was not what it was. So you were putting stuff out, and you didn't necessarily know everyone who was watching it or everyone who was playing it. We didn't have the instant feedback that we have now. So to have you guys come up to the table sometimes and say, your voice was in my home. Like, I grew up listening to you. Like, people will say, your voice, they're like, she's in my head when I read the comics or I do this. And I'm like, that's so amazing. And, or say something like, you know, like they'll hear my voice and they're like, wow, that brings me back to this thing. That's a huge gift. That's really, really cool. And it's because of this wonderful franchise, because of the opportunity, but it's also just like, it's really cool. And what I will say to many people is this, the biggest thing, people are like, oh, you're watching games, you're watching cartoons, what does it do to you? You guys don't seem like it turned out okay. So, feeling pretty good. There's not that bad.
I think one of the most rewarding parts of this whole experience is coming to these conventions and hearing the stories from people and how much the project that we were involved in was so integral in them growing up, or feeling accepted, finding community, or just feeling important enough to stay with us, you know? And I didn't expect that. I really thought we were doing this really cool cartoon and the video games, and that was it. Fun, and that's it. So imagine my surprise when I started doing conventions 2 years ago, and people telling me, like, this kept me from hurting myself, or this kept me from, you know, my parents always fought, and I could go to Sonic, and I just felt like there was a safe space, you know. That was really not only eye-opening, but humbling and inspiring, and just completely unexpected. But then when I really thought of it, you know, like I grew up in a family where there was a lot of fighting going on and arguing, and my show was Full House. You know, like I wanted to be part of the Tanner family. Like that was my idea on that. So it went from like, I don't know if I fully understand why they're telling me this, to, oh, I get it now because Full House was my side, you know, growing up. So that's a special thing to be a part of.
Hello. First of all, I want to say I'm standing here on behalf of my little sister Ginny, who is the biggest Blaze fan. Her wall, she's 11 years old. Her wall is full of drawings of Sunny's art, and also Blaze hanging out with Cream. And the first time I gave her a Blaze figure, she like pretended to faint. And so I just want to say that on behalf of her. Hi, Ginny, how are you?
Oh my goodness. You're still so naive.
Yes, and but my question is, do you have a line or part when you voice that you're like, that was so hard to get right and I'm so proud of it, it's probably a little underrated, but it's like, what is your favorite, like you're like, I'm proud of this.
For all of us, for like a line that's
yes.
particularly difficult.
first episode of Sonic X. Remember, never use Formula One race cars with chasing hedgehogs. That took me about 12 takes because I was so nervous, and I had to say this is not relay, this is too flat, so I had to say it very quickly to get it into his mouth. And everyone's staring at me. And so once I got it, I was like, yes! I'm not going to be fired today.
And he's never watched a Formula One race since.
I don't have a line specifically. I had a hard time in the beginning when I was doing it, transitioning, because she's so cute, she's so much of this, but then she also had all this other stuff in it. And then she would chase after Sonic, and I was like, baby, don't do that. What are you doing? But I had to find a reason why she was doing this, and I think it took a while to gel that. So that was a lot. I don't have a line specifically, but I think it was finding that part of her that was innocent, nice, brilliant, and also tough and strong and just fiery inside of her. So
maybe the hardest one was actually Wait the Swallow, when I had to say,
you suck. S-U-C-K suck.
just because it was so mean. That character was so mean. That was like the antithesis of who I am. So sometimes it's fun to play the opposite of yourself, but also sometimes I would say these lines and be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But sassy characters are fun though too, right?
First of all, these characters are really important to me, specifically Amy. Amy has always been super comforting to me as a child, and I've really looked up to her. So I love what you've done for the characters and all the little girls growing up.
Thank you. I will say this, it's like I tried very hard, even though I know she was cute, I tried very hard to make sure that she stayed strong.
Exactly.
And like that was like super important to me with everything. And even actually all the stuff that we did for kids, because sometimes at that time they didn't have as much screen time as other times, as other things. And it was always important that like they were strong and happy for themselves. And I think Amy really, really shows that.
I agree. What are each of your favorite lines for your characters that you've ever recorded?
So we did the hardest, what's the best?
Can it be audition?
Sure.
I'm ready. I just love tears.
I would say, if I had to choose between the world and Sonic, I would choose Sonic.
I already did my two favorites. Yeah, I love when she calls Silver naive. I just think it's such a cute little moment because it's an insult, and then there's just a moment, and then she says, "But I've always liked that about you," and that's just like she redeems herself. So that's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Last question. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Last question.
Okay, pressure's on. So we've done your hardest and your favorite lines. I want to know your least favorite lines, and you can't just say all the lines.
Say most of them.
Mine was when they made me fill in for the werehog. I was like, guys, you're just gonna give me the same note over and over again. Don't do that, Jason.
I'll say all of Jet's lines because it was just as vocally demanding as the werehog.
There's no way I'm not gonna lose.
I probably couldn't. No, I can't say it in this room. There's a particular line that Luffy says that's pretty fun, but there are children here, so.
Now you're worried about the children.
They're pretty naive. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just my final question for y'all, as we're parting ways here. What do you have coming up? What's next for y'all that you can talk about?
I'm going to say that the season 2 final episodes of Pokemon Horizons dropped today. And, so you'll get to see, I think everybody is in them actually, so you can see everybody on there. And those are actually going to be, I've been the voice director on that for about 12 years. I started as an AD, and then I'm the voice director, and those are my final episodes voice directing. So, but the season finale is a banger, so check it out.
Jason and I are NDing up. I have 2 games coming out, and you have 2 games coming out.
And I can't talk about
But I can't talk about